Should you start a real estate brokerage? I'm being sincere. If you're a real estate agent and you're curious, hey, should I start a real estate brokerage? I am in a place where I have maybe an effective team, or I'm a really productive agent with an assistant, and I'm thinking maybe I want to stop paying my broker and start being the broker myself. Well, that might be a terrific idea. Honestly, there's some situations where that makes perfect sense, and in other situations, it might be a complete disaster. So I want to break that down for you. I've been in the place where I've thought about, even recently, starting up an independent brokerage with a buddy of mine. And these are the things that led us to want to do it, the things that held us back from doing it. Ultimately, well, it was our choice. So I'm going to break that down for you here in this video. And at the very end, I'll actually show you some videos of some independent brokers that I've interviewed recently, 3 of them that I've interviewed this year, and the decisions that they made early on and what they're doing now. So stick around for that. Let's jump right into, should you start a real estate brokerage? Now, before we jump in, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are. Have you started a brokerage before? Have you not? What was that experience like? Would you ever consider it yourself? Drop that in the comments below. And now let's jump right into it. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is talk about why people would consider that. So you might fall into one of these categories, or some of these things might be appealing. So quickly, I'm going to go through why. Independence, right? Control over business operations. It's the independence to be able to run it the way that you want to run it. You can structure anything, splits, everything like that. You get full control over that as long as it's compliant, obviously. And you have ultimately all the decision-making power. You make all the key decisions, from hiring what type of agents and staff, setting commissions, and it allows you to really shape the business according to your vision. So I totally get it. You get that true, what I call FIFA, freedom, independence, flexibility, autonomy, that most of us are seeking when we get into real estate in the first place. So a brokerage seems to fit that mold, right? Next is financial potential. Now, a lot of people believe that, hey, I get to keep all of the commissions, and so therefore I'm going to earn more money, or the money that I earn, I'm going to keep more of it, right? That's actually the truth. And so when we look at that, we're talking about increased income on your personal transactions. Absolutely, that's a reason why you would consider doing that. In addition to that, owning equity in a business. It's not just like you're building a career for somebody else, you're actually building your business. All right, next is brand building. You can make the entire brokerage about you and your brand. So that's something that's very enticing or very intriguing to a lot of people, because they see the opportunity to be like, hey, I don't have to have somebody else's logo mixed in with mine. It's just me. Next thing is being a leader. Maybe you have an itch to be a leader. You want to guide. And this is actually where things get a little bit different, and it actually affects the first 3 things I just talked about when it comes to branding and flexibility and all those other things. I'll get to that in just a second. But leadership, you get to mentor and train other people if that's in fact what you want to do. You also have the ability to be flexible, right? You can scale things. You can choose when meetings happen, when they don't, when you're doing specific events, when you're doing different types of rollouts. You get to choose that timing and build that around your life, instead of being subject to the brokerage, right? Hey, there's this big training about this new settlement changes on the contract. Okay, cool. I'm the broker. I get to determine when that's going to happen. Right. So there's that piece. And in all that said, there's also some downsides, right? You're carrying all the liability. So you got to build out a buffer. There's a lot of compliance involved. And so now you're not just selling houses, you're brokering deals. And that has a different level of commitment and accountability. You're making sure you're cutting checks and balancing all that stuff. So these are things that you're not normally doing as a real estate agent, even a top producing real estate agent, even a team leader. A lot of those things that just goes to your broker right now. When you start this out, you're now responsible for that. And you might find that to be totally normal and fine and easy, right? Small price to pay for the independence, Isaac. Next is all the compliance stuff. You have to make sure that you're in compliance, that you're always up to date. You're always making sure that you're not putting yourself or anybody else at risk inside your organization. That's up to you as the broker. You always got to keep up your license. That's for anybody. But as a broker, you need to make sure you're up to date and all that stuff, because you don't have a broker to call anymore, right? You are the broker. There's also a certain amount of time commitment in building out systems and providing things for operations. So you have operational demands that you might not have right now. And then balancing the roles between being a productive agent, being a leader, making sure coffee's in the coffee maker, right? And I'm going to get to when these things matter and when they don't in just a second. Managing escrow and making sure that the checks happen because now you're responsible for what the agents are doing out there when you're not around, right? And then in addition to that, keeping in mind that now you do have to provide certain technology. You might be good as a solo agent with just spreadsheets or your basic CRM, or you know how to set up all these things. Great. What are you going to provide for your agents in terms of technology? Are you providing them a CRM? Are you providing them a marketing suite? What are you doing to help them actually succeed? What is the value proposition? And so oftentimes you're going to have to go out and get a whole marketing suite, get a tech stack going, make sure that you have an office space. Then you're worried about copier paper and making sure the coffee machines fill, then making sure the carpets are clean and making sure the chairs are set up for the meeting, all these different things. Not to mention, now you're also going to have to focus on becoming an actual leader, leading other people. Just because you're a producer doesn't make you a leader. And I'm not picking on anyone, but I'm just saying sometimes there's great athletes that are great at their sport, but they don't necessarily know how to coach other people to do the same. And so that's where you have to start flexing that leadership muscle. In addition to that, if it only makes sense based on your splits to recruit. Like we know this, there's about an 85% correlation between agent count and profitability in most models, especially a capped commission structure. Not to mention, let me actually stop right there. You also have to figure out the commission structure that works for other people. Are you going to go really heavy splits and give them leads and provide a ton of value and a lot of mentorship and you're going on, listing appointments with them and stuff like that? Or are you going to be more like, hey, you guys figure it out and just pay me a little bit off of each transaction, maybe a flat fee and a transaction fee, right? With a $10,000 cap or something. You have to figure out what's going to make sense and make sure you're balancing the value to the cost, right? Or the value to the split to the agents. And that's it, right? It's constantly being compressed. And so here's what we're finding. Sometimes it takes to the tens of thousands of agents, depending on the economic model, to be profitable. That's great. You heard that. Like, I don't know this for a fact. I believe I heard it somewhere. Please fact check me and drop it in the comments. But I heard somewhere out there that, like EXP, for example, I use them because they're really well known. They're a great company. They're big, but I don't believe they were profitable until like agent 15,000 or something like that. It was definitely over 10,000 to where they were profitable. Now, don't get me wrong, they made a lot of capital investments and stuff like that, I'm sure, early on. But in either case, understand that as in order to be highly profitable as a brokerage, that comes at a lot of agent scale. So now you're talking about having recruiting campaigns and all that different types of stuff, and you're having dynamic training and focusing on those things. And so most independent brokerages, they see it as a source of freedom, but really what they end up doing is being handcuffed to the business, right? Because now they're out there trying to broker deals, sell real estate, train agents. Maybe they run a team model inside their brokerage, right? Because there's a lot more income to be made, a lot more revenue, and certainly a lot more profit if you're running a team model where maybe you're giving leads and opportunities like that to the agents for a higher split, right? Because 50-50, 60-40, those types of things on a lead that's given to somebody, agents are happy to do that because they like the production. And so the team model makes a lot of sense. So a lot of brokers are doing this like, hey, I'm going to run my own brokerage, but I'm going to run it like a team. And if you close your personal deals, it'll be this split. And if you close your company deals, it'll be this split. So what happens is they're effectively running a team. And so what you're going to see in just a second is three different independent brokerages who are running a similar model, right? Where they go, hey, you know what? It doesn't make sense for me to just have agents out in the wild. It only makes sense to have team agents that when they do personal deals, here's their split. When they do company deals, here's their split. And it all makes sense. And it's effectively just a giant team. Well, here's what happens. They start looking at how much money they are making for the brokerage activities, meaning how much of this income that I just made can I actually directly attribute to being the broker of record versus being the team leader who's providing things like training and leads, right? Those are just a few things that they'll provide. In other words, what's the difference between me being a team leader and me being the team leader broker? And how much of this income can I attribute to being the broker of record on this file? And what they're finding is there's this amount. I don't know what that amount is. Let's call it, 5% of their revenue can be attributed to that. I'll to introduce you to Scott from Virginia, Ron from Florida, and another Scott. from Massachusetts and learn a little bit about why they made the move. Just here in the last 6 months, all three of them have made the move to partner up with an independent brokerage. But there's a reason why, and it might not fit what you're looking for. You might end up at the end of that video going, oh, wow, good for them. I'm clear now that I do want to open my independent brokerage. And if there's ever a way I can support you in that, let me know. Let's jump right into that video and just a couple clips of why they made the move and what challenges they were facing, just so that you know what's coming.
John was a big influence on me for coming up on 4 years with him, and that's been really, really good. And we were in the sales coaching forum that you led, and we spent a year really getting to know each other and talking about business and how to help agents grow their business, how to attract the right people and the right systems. It wasn't pitchy. It wasn't about anything other than helping people, fund their lives through the growth of real estate. It was really good.
Yeah.
I don't know, I was out there 5 times. I came out to San Diego that year. I felt like I had a second home out there. But we spent a lot of time together just breaking bread and doing things. And when that ended, we didn't stop communicating, which is really good. And if you know about my kid in the soccer, and I see your boys playing football, but we just kept in touch. I think you and I connected on a personal level, and all the other stuff just it came along with it. But what's interesting is if I met you someplace that wasn't real estate, we'd still be friends.
Yeah.
And we barely talk about real estate.
Yeah. I mean, I look back at those times where we've just had like, a Friday call and both of us are sitting around having a drink, just chatting about life. Right.
Yeah, the video happy hour, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
And the no talking about real estate. That's just not that. And I think that's something you and I share is that I think we're both committed to success for our families and those around us and helping people around us. Um, but I was on this, I'm on this journey, fiercely independent. I've owned my own businesses most of my life. Brief interlude at a big box company years ago. But most of that has been an independent time, and I really enjoy that piece. Over the last year or so, there's hurricanes and things in Florida, and we were running and gunning, doing good. A lot of things have conspired together where I found myself doing more of the things that don't give me passion, don't give me energy. Paperwork and broker responsibilities, and making sure the E&O is right, and all the other things. Now I can do that along with it, but my sweet spot is talking to people about how to invest in real estate, how to purchase their home, and how to help others accomplish the same thing. And so this is a really good segue into the next part of my journey in this space. And so I'm really excited about this piece. No regrets. I'm not leaving anything on the table. Well, one thing, you got to set your ego aside a little bit to be a part of something larger, and I'm ready for that.
So tell me a little bit about that. What do you mean by setting your ego aside and stepping into something larger? Like, I think I know what you mean by that, but maybe there's somebody watching who says, well, you're an independent broker. How is this a bigger, larger thing for you?
Yeah. So it starts out with, you ran a really big team. I ran a big team. And for attracting people to come into that, they had to fit in this little box. You had to come and work on a team. The leader's name was going to go on the sign. It wouldn't, you'd be branded alongside of it, but not necessarily first, probably second. And if you weren't going to join the team, there really wasn't a place we're a small brokerage, in comparison to the big ones. So there wasn't a space where you could independently come in and grow your own team. So now if you think about that, maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 people that I spoke to that really wanted to join the team, unless they wanted to fit in that box, it wasn't going to be for them. So we had these really, really good conversations that there wasn't a fit. And this opens up a door now where I can help other agents, whether they want to be a part of a team or grow their own business. I can coach or mentor if that's what they want in either area. And that gives me a lot of energy. I'm excited about that.
And where do you see this? Because you and I had these conversations, right? You really believe in what it is that LPT is doing from the agent perspective. So how do your agents win in this scenario? I know we talked a little bit about it right now, but I know that was the forefront of your mind. And mostly what we're going to talk about real briefly at the end is like the smallest part. Talk to me about how your agents benefit and how you see this working.
Well, a couple of things. So, the ego play, it's Wise Home Team Realty for up until today. And it was really good. And it wasn't about the ego, it was about building the brand and the business, which I'm a builder. I like to build things. But I also realized, I just asked myself the honest question over the last year. Am I doing everything in my power to enhance the experience for my agents, to help them to reach the mutual success together, to fund their life and fund their family while they trade all this time and energy for dollars.
Yeah.
And more, I found that the systems that I needed to continually put in place and revamp and reinvest in, like most people, it became overwhelming. And I
Mm,
found more time trying to fix this widget or do that or study that next new thing. And I'm like, man, I'm exhausting myself in all the areas of energy that was really just a time suck for me. You know,
yeah.
we all buy one of these phones, and the minute we spend a lot of money on it, and 2 days later it's completely obsolete, and you got to do it again.
Yep.
Well, much the same way when you do the marketing in the real estate space, and says, all right, we've always had really, really, really good marketing. Is there a place that would be better? And is there a place we could scale the business differently than what we're doing right now? And more, the answers just became obvious that it was time to, let's find out something that we could go to that we feel good about that would benefit the people around me. And I mean, other than if I was to continue to be selfish, I would just stay here. We would all have good business. We would all make some money, so to speak. We would all do really good. But for the overall benefit of everybody around me, I need to set aside that ego and that peace to help them do more and do better for their families long term. And this became a pretty obvious choice over time. And it's easy to make sense.
That's awesome. And those are the things that are really important, right? Is if it makes sense, right? When you look at the opportunity, and not just does it make sense for the team leader, does it make sense for the broker, but does it make sense for the agents? Um, how was that? How was that conversation with your agents? And by the way, you and I haven't spoken about this much, but how was that conversation? And tell me a little bit about that transition.
Well, I mean, I'm not somebody that sits on the fence and takes a long time to make a decision. I've been studying and studying, and you probably similarly, you studied the models, you came to an absolute decision, and boom, and you were done. And for
Yeah.
me, it was that way. I met Robert Palmer, 10 years ago. I was a team leader at a big box brokerage, and he came out with one of his attorney friends. We spent a few hours together. He actually drove out to me, and at the time, he was talking about the mortgage company, and just opportunities in general.
Hmm.
He never sat there and gave me an inducement or a pitch or anything else. We just talked about business, our moral compass, our core values. I'm like, this is crazy. We look, talk, walk. We think alike. We're different people, but we had so much commonality. At the time, though, I says, listen, I'm with this guy that's been with me the whole way. I'm fiercely loyal. If this guy gets hit by a bus or quits the business, you're my next call, but I'm going to ride it with this guy because
Yeah.
he's been there every step of the way with me. He's like, I can't argue with that.
So, okay, because, and let's unpack that a little bit. So, what are the things that you saw at LPT where you're like, I even need that? Talk me through that.
There's really four things that jumped out at me right off the top of my head. The first one was leadership. Like, I need to feel comfortable. If I'm going into battle, like, this is a big move, right? And if I'm going to make a big move like this, I need to feel 100% comfortable and confident that the leader can take us through the battle, leads from the front. And so that's one of the things I loved about Robert Palmer. I feel like in the short time we've had several conversations and I've had a chance to watch a lot of his stuff. But what I love about him is he's not leading from the ivory tower. He's out in the forefront. I mean, like this week alone, how many meetings are they running this week because of the NAR thing? It's like the whole week is just stacked with meetings.
Five a day.
Five a day, and he's going to be in a lot of them. So this guy isn't sitting up in the tower pulling strings. He's out in the front lines, and to me, that's the leadership that I want to provide my agents, and that's the leadership I want to provide me. So the leadership was huge. He surrounded himself. I mean, he's already been successful in other businesses. That's important, right? So this isn't something he's trying. Well, let's give this a whirl. And then the guy is smart. He surrounded himself with some really, really super smart people in order to help the company grow, not just rely on him. So the leadership was the first big thing.
Okay.
I worked in a prison for 20 years, right? Like I wanted to when I worked there, if I'm going into something, I want my leader to feel confident, comfortable, like this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to get in and get out, and everybody's going to be okay. And you need to have that. And it's the same thing here. It's like I want to make sure, that we're being led in the right direction. And 100%, again, I didn't take it lightly. Didn't make an overnight decision, but he's proven it time and time again through history. And now in the short time that I've had an opportunity to speak with him, you can see it. So that was it. Leadership was number one for sure.
Okay.
And the second thing for me, I'm a big marketing guy. I've been doing this for 23 years. My very, very first coach 23 years ago told me, you're in the lead generation business.
Yep.
You're not in real estate. You just happen to sell houses. Your job is to generate leads. And so I've always been a marketing guy. And I felt like, same thing with the leadership. I felt like I was in alignment with what he was doing, how he was proceeding to move forward. And on the marketing side of it, like, I fell in love with this stuff because I've been using call capture for 23 years. I've been using those same type of funnels, offering items of value to bring them down the funnel. And so when I saw this, it's like, boom, it was a natural connection for me. Even from the listing presentation, watching the listing, it's so similar to my listing presentation. So it's like, it almost was cohesive. It was a real, real nice fit. And so the marketing, like, and to be able to do it all in one place, oh my God, my agents are jumping for joy. It's like, this is so beautiful. With one click of a mouse, we can essentially do anything we want from print to digital, all that stuff. So that was super important to me because I do believe we're in the marketing business. We're in the lead generation business. We just happen to sell houses. So the best way to do that is through marketing. So I love the marketing with the company. It was in alignment with what I already do. So that was easy.
I actually remember when you called me after that. You called me and you go, hey, dude, this is exactly what I do. This is so much in alignment with what I'm already doing.
Yep. I can literally take that deck and swap out a few pieces of our own personal stuff over here, and the presentation remains the same. So so it was like a natural fit on the marketing side of it too, right? So the leadership, no brainer. This guy's a true leader, leading from the front. This guy's active. Calls, trainings, open to his agents in the organization, which I think is huge. Then the marketing piece, and then the next piece of it all, it's like coaching. I love coaching, right? Like, I've been involved in coaching for 20 some odd years, right? I believe that building your skills is a really, really important thing that we need to do. Like, if you want to convert more, you have to get better at your skill. You got to skill build. That's what the pros do, pro athletes, right? They just continue working the basic fundamentals, build that skill set up. And here, in the current situation, like training and coaching, guess who it falls on? Me. Either that, I got to go outside, excuse me, and bring a coach in. And that's not cheap, which I'm not afraid to invest. It's a great investment. But now I have access to top minds in real estate, right? We masterminds. You got the weekly trainings. You got the library of training. So the coaching and the training is like endless, and it doesn't all fall on me.
Yeah.
So that was super attractive because, again, I only have so much time and resources myself to be able to do that. Now we get to pick brains from top agents across the country, and soon to be in other countries, right? That we can pick the brains of some of the top minds, and they're all open and willing to share, to contribute. And that's part of the core values of the company is that whole contribution thing. It's not limited to this. It's open to everybody. So that was really, really attractive to me too, because it's not like that everywhere else.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right. And then finally, for me, the compensation structure is such that, for the love of God, like, I have a little joke around here. It's like, in terms of retention, see, I've been running my business, Isaac, as a team, because that's where I came from. So we really have, we got 33 people. We're running a 33-person team. But that's the one model that I had, that I provide all the tools and resources. This is the different commission breakdown. I didn't have a model for a top producing agent that wanted to do their own thing.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't attract that from outside of the company.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have it available to me. So to me, I love it because I can have my team structure, and then, you outgrow that, I can put you into the into the business builder plan. And so the retention to me The only way you will lose an agent is one of two ways. There's a problem with the culture fit, or they're like, that leader, meaning me, I don't like him. I got to bounce. In terms of compensation, and there's nothing out there in the marketplace like this. And so to be able to offer that to not only my agents and keep them with the retention piece of that, but also to attract top producing agents who are looking for a cap structure that I didn't have. And I couldn't provide with the business model that I had.
Yeah, they
So
want to be attached to you, but they're like, I don't know about at that price.
right. And hey, Scott, I don't want to work leads and I don't want to do this. I just want to do my own. I didn't have a place for that. And so there's a lot of agents that I could have brought in. So I'm super stoked about having this opportunity to present to my marketplace. Cause like I said, there's nothing like it, Isaac, over here. There's nothing like I know of in the market. And so it's really like, I just can't wait to get going with this thing. So
Yeah.
those are the four big things that really, really jumped out at me. I mean, I think that's the whole package is there. That's what attracted me, and that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I wasn't able to, we kind of scrambled this together because we said, hey, the word's already getting out locally, so let's just do it.
Yeah.
But we have another business partner in this, right? Chris Snow.
Yeah.
And I want to just tip my hat to him because the guy's just amazing. If you're out there and you know who Chris Snow is, I tagged him in the post. He and I are partnered up in bringing Scott over. I don't want to take that lightly. Chris is an amazing person. He's a great resource, one of the best leaders in LPT and real estate in general out there with the Coastal Florida team. And so I just want to give him a big shout out. Make sure that if you know who Chris is, reach out to him if you're interested. Reach out to Scott if you're interested in LPT. I want to dig a little bit more into this though. Sure. Let's say I'm an independent broker and I'm like, okay, Scott, I get what you're saying, man. There's a lot of stress on the system right now. I don't know if I could provide the same level of runway that I might be able to provide as an individual. Instead, I'm thinking maybe it makes sense to merge with the cloud-based brokerage. But I'm afraid of what my agents might think or say or do. How did you handle that? Because that's a real thing that we run into. And I know you didn't take that lightly at all.
So I had many conversations with you, with Chris, with Michael, with the other Chris, how to best approach this. Because I had that same concern too. It's like, it's the fear of the unknown is what it comes down to. It's that basic fear. So the way I did it is, I took the information and brought it to my leaders first and asked them all to take a look at it and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, but I want your input on this because I don't, we got a good thing going here. I'm not looking to upset the apple cart, but I really value your opinion. If you wouldn't mind, take a look at it. I gave them the long video, the hour and 20-minute full video, had them all watch it and then circle back with them individually. And all five were like, I don't see anything. There's no cons here. I don't see anything. There was nothing but pros that they fell in love with it. So that was that. And then at that point, I took it out and then I rolled it out to our entire company. Had them all watch the video prior to us at our company meeting, where I would address any questions and concerns that they had. And they all watched it. And I had, and then we did our little meeting where I gave the presentation myself of why I liked it and why it was, I thought it was a move that was beneficial to everybody. And then we brought in the LPT leadership as well as you and Chris joined on that call. And I think you heard some of the people when, the big question is when can we get started, right? Yeah. So the feedback, there was no negative feedback at all. So, but I totally get what that's, anytime there's change, it brings up a little bit of fear, but in order to grow, you got to change.
Yeah. Well, and so one thing I want to make sure that we all talk about is that video, right? That video does a great job explaining not just the model itself, but where did this all come from? What's the concept behind it? Yeah. And so if you're watching this video, whether you're watching it live or after the fact, I just dropped a link in the chat. It's scottpatella.lpt.com. If you go there, there's a button that says watch the video. And so every single person that joins LPT, they have the opportunity to promote LPT if that's something they choose to do. And so there's that website, scottpatella.lpt.com. It's in the chat. So if you want to watch that video, learn what did Scott share with his team that where they said, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and merge our entire brokerage with this brokerage. That's going to go a long way for you. So make sure you check that out.
I approach this like I've done everything in my career. It's like I don't know, pretend to know everything that there is, but I know where I can go to get the answers. And so that's where, people like you and Chris came involved. It's like, I don't know the answer. Let's get Chris on the phone. Let's get Isaac on the phone.
So there you have it. Ron, Scott, and Scott showed you a little bit into their world about why, as fiercely independent brokers, they decided to make a merge with a cloud based brokerage. Just so happens that LPT made the most sense for them. And there's actually a really big movement right now in the United States and Canada for independent brokerages to just say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and merge with a cloud based brokerage that's going to provide my agents with a better runway than I could as an independent broker. So hopefully you got a ton of value out of that. Drop in the comments below what your thoughts are. Give a shout out to the people that gave their advice here on the video. And then also know that if you are interested, if you are thinking about becoming a broker, if you already are an independent broker and you're interested in learning more about why someone might make the move to LPT and how you can partner with us at Real Estate CEOs, you can partner with Scott and Ron and me and a plethora of others. There's over 1,000 people in the Real Estate CEOs group and it's growing every single day. Make sure that you go into the description below. Click that link and book one-on-one time with me. I'll happily walk you through what it would look like for you and introduce you to any of my partners. So until next time, happy selling.